class every day. You know, if there's going to be any applause, it needs to be for you guys. I think Superintendent Cook said that there are 200 people being recognized today. And I think if each one of you think about all the people who have helped you to get where you are today, if you think about all the people who are amazing educators, like you are all here today, we would have well over 2,000 people filling this room, 200,000 people filling this room. And that sheer number, and as an English teacher, it's hard for me to wrap my mind around big numbers like that, but that sheer number is really a testament to all of the great work that you guys do. So if there's going to be a round of applause, it needs to be for all the people in this room. So one more round of applause for everyone. I need to start, first and foremost, by thanking all of the people who really helped to make this past year to be one of the most memorable and really transformative experiences of my life. I'd like to thank Superintendent Chris Cook and the Illinois State Board of Education for your unyielding support of all of the outstanding educators across the state of Illinois, for supporting great events like this that celebrates outstanding practices in education. I'd like to thank Ann Marrero, who is my Teacher of the Year, Department of Ed liaison, and wherever you are here, she was running around, I'm sure, making sure that things are running smoothly. And thank you, wherever you are. I'd like to thank my principal, Tim Little, back at Schaumburg High School, and our superintendent at District 211, Dr. Nancy Robb, who I think are two of the biggest fans of teachers that I know. And I'd like to also thank specifically a teacher who was a big mentor to me and still continues to be a monumental influence in my both personal and professional career, my department chair, Don Davis. I think he taught me almost everything I know about teaching. So I wanted to thank Don for sure. And then of course my family, whose love and support has definitely helped me to get where I am today specifically, and especially my parents, Tom and Judy, who are here today. I think they took every chance to tell anyone willing to listen that their son was the Illinois Teacher of the Year. and typically, they were telling people who weren't so willing to listen, but they were telling them anyway. And I think it was especially funny that my mom started telling people that I was the Illinois Teacher of the Year like 11 years ago when I first started teaching, so I don't know how that worked out. Maybe that influenced it somehow. And then lastly, but certainly not least, my wife. I'd like to say thank you. It's been a very, very long journey, and she has been there by my side throughout all of it. I think it's safe to say that without you, I don't think I could have gotten through any of this, so thank you. Speaking of beauty, do you like that transition, right? So about 2 weeks ago, all the state teachers of the year, we spent our last conference together at Princeton University. And I was absolutely awestruck by the beauty and the brilliance of this university. And not just the architecture, not just the buildings themselves, but the students that walked the paths, the faculty that walked the paths. I was walking down these walkways and I realized that I was traversing the very same paths that Albert Einstein walked years ago. And I was making sure that I was even stopping in some of his watering holes to grab a beer, and he was a bit of a drinker. But it was in this place right here that struck me the most. I was in this beautiful plaza, and it was seemingly innocuous, but there are these paths that just jutted out in a number of directions. And I just sat there, filming, spinning in a circle. And I thought that this symbolism of this particular moment was actually really quite powerful. I was thinking about the question that was posed to all of us as State Teachers of the Year during that conference. Where are you going to grow from here? And in thinking about some of these State Teachers of the Year and some of the amazing decisions that they've had to make for their personal and professional careers, some of them decided that they were going to affect education in outstanding ways by pursuing a career in politics and educational policy. Some decided that they wanted to be leaders in their schools and their districts as administrators. Some decided that they wanted to move on to the university level and teach teachers in all of these outstanding ways to impact students. And when I thought about the path that I was going to take, I knew that that path was going to lead me right back to the classroom, where I was going to go back to my students. And so when I started to really reflect on how I came upon that decision, I knew that I was going to have to do some serious thinking. And I was going to have to go all the way back to the beginning of my educational journey. All the way back to, okay, so that's a little too early. That's preschool graduation. I was very proud of that moment, but I think my mom put that picture in there. No, we're going to go forward in time a little bit. I was going to go into my first year teaching. And I had a lot of room to grow. And I know this because I went rummaging through my old materials. I don't throw things away at all. And so I started looking through my old lesson plan books, and I found my first lesson plan book. And I found, when I look back at my very first lesson plan, and it reassured me that I had a lot of room to grow. So I did this, and I had 5 minutes slotted for me to introduce myself, and I was going to introduce myself. 5 minutes, and then another 5 minutes of attendance, okay, I got 10 minutes down, get through this, 20 minutes of an icebreaker where I was going to do something where the kids were going to circle up and play some name game, which was somebody's biggest fear, their fear, my fear, I don't know, but either way, somebody was like terrified about what was going on during this day. And then toward the end at some point, I was going to fit in the syllabus, but I ran out of time, so I just narrowed that down to the next day. And then try to squeeze that in somewhere before or after where I was going to talk about communication apprehension, of which I had a ton, and was hoping that nobody was going to notice. But it's that biggest fear part that I really wanted to focus on, because it was those fears that really motivated me to come back that next day. And I didn't see them as fears, I saw them as challenges. In a lot of ways, we all face those challenges, don't we? And so when I reflected on this, I decided that's why I decided to go back to the classroom. Not because it was easy, but because it was a challenge. And so we all sit here today, many of the best educators in the state of Illinois. And we all have these fears, don't we? We're afraid that we're going to be unprepared. Teacher nightmares, I call it. We're afraid that we're going to become maybe irrelevant. We're afraid that maybe our teaching practices are not going to be best practice. We're afraid that we're not going to be able to fit in lunch or go to the bathroom when we really have to go to the bathroom. We're afraid of being negatively judged by our students, by our parents, by the general public, worse, by our own peers. We're afraid that we're going to fail our students. And so we have to face these challenges. But I learned something very, very important when thinking about all of these fears. I learned that the work that we do is so critical. It is full of so many challenges and so many obstacles that we cannot do it alone. There's just no way. And so over the course of this past year, I had the fortuitous opportunity to meet some of the most outstanding teachers throughout the state of Illinois. And we faced a lot of obstacles together. Particularly, we went to space camp. I found out that I had fears that I didn't even know I had. And I'm not talking about the fact that they made me do math and science. I was terrified of that, but I'm talking like life-threatening fears here, okay? Like drowning. But fortunately, I had a great group of people, and we worked at these things together, and we got through it. We faced these challenges together. I didn't jump into that big tin can by myself, I had other people. I was like, you're coming with me. Shortly thereafter, I was asked to speak at an elementary school in Central Illinois, in Pekin, Illinois, in the Rankin Rebels. I was terrified. I hadn't spoken in front, I hadn't interacted with children in a very, very long time, and so I didn't know what to expect. But I went, and when you step out from the podium, when you step out into the fray, when you step out away from your comfort zone, you experience some really, truly amazing things. But again, I firmly believe you cannot do this alone. We, as an institution of educators, we need to rely on one another. We need to rely on collaboration. We need to approach everything we do, brick by brick, working together. Because sometimes the work that we do, people's lives depend on it. And in the profession that we're in, that's exactly the case. And so there are some things that we need to think about here as far as how we are able to approach, and I want to dwell on this for a while. I'm sorry, Ohio State fans. But there are some things that we need to keep in mind, because collaboration is not easy. Collaboration is something that it does not always come very easily to us. So there are three key ideas here that I really want to talk about. Three key values that we need to keep in mind as we go back to our home schools and we go back to collaborate with one another. And this is number one. We have to leave all of our judgments behind us. We cannot judge one another, even if they are Ohio State fans. We need to really appreciate one another's differences, appreciate the different cultures that we come from, appreciate the different perspectives, understand one another, and in that way, we will be able to collectively find success. Number two is that when we do find success, we need to celebrate it. There are too many times when people experience something that is truly life-altering, and they don't share it with anybody. So when we do experience success in the classroom, interacting with students, with other colleagues, when we experience success at a conference, we need to make sure we share that with everybody. Share that with people that we love. Share it with as many people as we can. But on the flip side of things, when we fail, we can't keep that a secret either. We need to be willing to share our failures. Some of you were not listening to the non-judgmental parts. The three important values. Now, hopefully when you do fail, you will not have tens of thousands of people booing you. However, when it happens, embrace it. Because the fact of the matter is, if you're not willing to take a risk, if you're not willing to fail, you will never accomplish anything great. I know, you don't see the ball bouncing in this picture. But it's not enough. It's not enough to go back to our colleagues and embrace these three values. We need to take all of these ideas and we need to bring it back to the classroom. And when we bring these values back to the classroom, you're going to see some truly amazing things. You're going to see students embrace these values as well when we are models of it. You're going to see that they are not judging one another. You're going to see that they celebrate success. You're going to see that they celebrate their failures and take risks. You're going to see them create